We are live. Hello, friends, and welcome to our full moon tune in with me and Nikki. Hello.
Hello, we are back together again.
Love us together. That's the song that popped into my head uh, when you said that. So, some of you are new, but many of you may remember Nikki and I, Nicole and I, used to do Gaia GNO, Gaia Night Online, and then we did the Gaia GPS. And we've both been through a lot these last few years, and here we are together. Hi, friends. People are saying hi. I'm so happy to see you. Hi, Azalea. She said, yay. So, hi, friends. So, we're here and we're going to talk about this full moon in Gemini energy, which is definitely packing a major punch. I don't know if any of you are feeling it. How are you feeling it, Nikki?
Oh man. Well, to be honest with you, I got a lot done this week. I think I keep saying this, but I think that Ryan and I got 3 months worth of work done in like 2 weeks. But that doesn't mean that the fireworks haven't been going off. Leela has this growth like resistance around reading. We got to go to the school. It's a thing. I'm like, oh my goodness. So here we are, really showing up differently, doing the work. And then we get resistance in the form of children. Yay. Um, you, you get it when you get it everywhere, right? At every angle. So here we are, like celebrating this kind of completion of a project that we've been doing for about a year now. And then we get the phone call that Leela is having a hard time. And I'm like, okay, juggling all the things. But, a lot of edge work, being on my edge, the night sweats, when you're like really going through a thing and you get that. I know this is going to sound gross. Hi. But those processing sweats and you get up and you're like, oh God. And it feels like you're kind of burning through something. I've been going through that a lot the last week.
Well, I think you touched on something we were just talking about a little bit is that resistance piece, right? And I think I think we've had some varying over the last few years, varying levels of resistance. There's been the resistance that we've had to the places where we've been calling to change. And I feel like there's been places where we have felt like the universe resisting our desire to shift and change. And my feeling on this full moon in Gemini is that this Gemini full moon energy, all of it all together, is like kind of the initiation sequence for like a rocket taking off, like a major shift that we are working our way into. Like now is not the moment of that rocket taking off, but in 2023 this rocket will be taking off. One of the themes I've been talking about in the Astro the last few years is like slow and steady wins the race, as we've been having some interesting squares going on. And so this is a beautiful opportunity for us to start initiating deeper internal shifts to bring about change in our lives and stop repeating those deeply grooved in patterns.
And I think we all kind of had to go in this pressure cooker the last couple of years. And I think that's why it is slow and steady wins the race. Because it wasn't, I always say when I hear that slow and steady wins the race and people are like, it feels like nothing's really going on. I'm like, just think of it this way. We're in a cruise ship. And because it's a big cruise ship, you can't really feel how fast it's going. It's this just heavy, like this big engine just pushing us through this, whether we like it or not. And it's so deep. It's so almost complete that it has to be this slow and steady, deep trudging up process because I do feel like every single person on this planet is a different person than they were 2 years ago. And biologically, usually it takes 7 years for us to go through a cycle of complete and utter transformation. But because things are kind of on fast forward right now, um, your process is going, it's deeper, it's more intimate, and it's more, uh, I don't know, more long lasting, maybe is the word.
Yes, I think these changes are not meant to be. My friend used to call it Sunday morning inspiration, where you hear the inspiration, you're like, I'm gonna change. And you do like the change for like a day, and then you start like kind of unwinding back to your old patterns. These changes that we're making are like they're definitely more than skin deep. They're meant to, I think, shift us on cellular level ultimately. Uh and mental patterns. And I think even looking again at the astro, deep karmic grooves of like our ancestors that we've like been kind of replaying. They were like, done, no more of that. And I have to show you. So one of our favorite things, or one of my favorite things when we used to do these lives a while ago, was when we had the same cards. And I saw you grab your light seer tarot. So you had actually inspired me to the light seer tarot. And as you were pulling the
Do you
card,
love it?
I do. I really do like it. I love the write ups too, and I love the little quotes. But as you were pulling, talking about like the deep process, I actually pulled this card. Sorry, getting used to this camera angle. The Seven of Pentacles, and here it's so interesting because look at these planets and the depth of the roots. And while there's not so much growth up there in the plant, there's all this root depth. And so I feel like that's been a big part of the process that we have been working, is this root depth that needed to come in and solidify us for some of these, again, changes incoming.
I
So
wanna I wanna piggyback on that because I have actually a personal story about that very card.
sure.
Um, so when I started my Golden Collective business 5 years ago, I bought a plant, and it was this plant, and it got too big for its little planter. And I didn't really do anything with it. I was kind of just letting it be the way that it was. And I closed the Golden Collective, and I still had this plant. And Ryan and I decided that we were going to blend our work together, my husband and I. And he looked at me and he's like, we need to do something about that plant. So we've been doing our singing bowl work here. And one day he had all the singing bowls out, and he comes flying into the room. I'm still in bed, and he's like, I broke the root bowl. And I was like, oh no. Like, breaking one of your singing bowls for whatever reason almost feels like you lost like a friend. It was like really sad and depressing. And so we go, well, what are we going to do? So we decided that we were going to make our root bowl, if you can see it,
You can see it.
into a planter.
Aw.
So we had this tiny tree. It was tiny, and it was really just being suffocated by that old planter. And I will say, for about 2 months, we didn't know after we planted it. Now we got that card, that very card that Mimi just showed you. And so we were like, okay, that's like, we were talking about it. So we put chakra stones in the bottom of the root bowl, just like the things. And we put it in our root bowl. For 3 months, it didn't do anything. It literally just kind of hit a plateau and a standstill. And all of a sudden, the last 2 months, this thing shot up like a weed, to the point where Ryan and I think that it might outgrow the root bowl in the next few months. So once we do this, and sometimes those deep rooted intentions, and every single stone that we put into the dirt, the entire family put in an intention into that. And we put our intentions into the soil. We put those seeds of intention into the soil. And sometimes it takes a minute for it to root, and it takes a minute for it to kind of gestate, and then all of a sudden you couldn't even imagine how fast this thing started to just flourish. So don't get like like Mimi said, we haven't hit the rocket ship yet, but don't get too disheartened from you're not seeing a lot of growth. You got to trust that the roots are kind of boring in to kind of give it stability so it can shoot up. Um, so if you're not seeing it yet, I'm telling you, I think in 2023, I do think things will flourish rather quickly. I think even within like 8 weeks, I want to say, of 2023, maybe March, you're going to see a lot of different, a lot of change in your external life.
Astrologically, March is off the hook. So this full moon to me is prepping us for Mars direct. So this full moon tonight that we're having is exactly conjunct Mars. They are at the 16 degrees Gemini, and it's almost smack dab in Mars's retrograde, which has, I feel like retrogrades are more about like repeating lessons. Like for me, when planets are going retrograde, it's like, hey, these energies, these degrees are important, and this requires a review so that you can go over these lessons so that you can really get them. So we're in the midst of this review of Mars in Gemini, reviewing um, how we take action, aligned with our passions, aggressions, and I think specifically as well, our mind. Gemini is the sign of the mind. And I think sometimes these humans just can write off how powerful our mental energies can be in our cycles and patterns. And so as we're going through this review, it's like, okay, let me notice how my mind is feeding into my actions, reactions, what I like, what I'm frustrated with, what I'm passionate about, all of that energy. And we can dig into that and start noticing, like, oh, here's a pattern. I don't actually like this pattern. I would like this pattern to not keep repeating itself. I want to make a shift. And you can say you make a shift, but it takes time. I think a lot of different people talk about how long it takes to make a shift, but a lot of people will kind of come down to like 40 days. You need about 40 days to make a beautiful shift. So here we are in the midst of this retrograde, which I should have counted how long it is. It's a little bit longer than 40 days. And then we're going to go direct in January. And Mars will finally move out of Gemini in March, along with a few other potentially potent not potentially, definitely potent astrological shifts. And so right now it's like, where are you aiming your rocket? um and part of where are you aiming your rocket, how are you aiming your mind, how are you utilizing your mind, and how you are utilizing your mind affecting your patterns in your body, in your actions, in your work, how you bring yourself and your talents and your gifts forward, basically everything. Somebody just said, I don't know how to shift, I feel stuck. And I think a lot of us can feel that way, but a lot of times for me, when I am feeling stuck, I need to address my mental patterns because I'm not seeing, to speak Sagittarius, I'm not seeing the possibilities. I am I am stuck in the same old, same old, same old. I saw a quote by Tony Robbins a few weeks ago that said, you don't lack resources, you lack resourcefulness. And so it's looking beyond these usual patterns. And that's personally how I start to utilize my personal shift. And then from changing my thought patterns, I can shift a lot of other things, including my actions and how I'm showing up. And I always find that really potent for me. Hold on a second. Alexa, turn on main light.
Okay.
Turn on main light 100%, please. Hold on. Hey, Alexa, turn on main light 100%.
Okay.
she does this thing where she's like, "Let me get dramatic and turn the light down on you." And I said it right before we started, but that is what Alexa does, and I don't know why.
So
Um,
you don't feel like anything is shifting externally? Is that what you're saying?
I do think things shift externally, but I think sometimes in our patterns, despite external shifts, which happen, that we can still, like, it's like the whirlpool effect where you like kind of just keep like going around in the whirlpool, or your grooves are so deep that even with these external changes, we can get so grooved in. And so I think that with Gemini, right? It's like the dual path. So it's utilizing these external changes that are happening, but also focusing on our own internal changes that really are going to create this rocket ship.
I think that's what has already created the rocket ship, actually. I think the last year, this year has been such I mean, I'm speaking personally. Like, so we started last year with a fire in our neighborhood. And Ryan and I were like going full steam ahead, and that put us on our butt. Um, it kind of took all of our resources away and was like, no, you got to deal with some deep inner patterning. And I what Mimi talked about is it is the Gemini stuff is really coming up. I feel like we were stuck in this illusion of how things should work itself out or what we wanted.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of that was coming from our heads and not really who we deeply and truly are and who we deeply truly want to become. And it was almost like an illusion of itself, maybe illusion of the world or illusion of what you thought you wanted from the past. But something really is deep and shifting. And I think that it's coming from some of these like deep past life. But I want to talk about, because you touched on it, Mimi, about lineage and
Mm.
these really deep lineage conditioned patterns of behavior that I think that we have been stuck in, maybe not even in just in this lifetime, and deep into many lifetimes. And what I noticed for me personally this year has been I've also had been in a Pluto square with my natal Pluto. And so that brings up a lot. And the United States is at a Pluto conjunction. So if you live in the United States, you're feeling a lot of karmic patterning coming to an end. And I have to tell you, you're probably having some karma from the United States if you were born into the US. So it might not just be, that, you know, the your personal relationship now. There's a lot of people I know who found lineage that were settler, like pilgrim settlers. And so we might have to be looking at some of these really old karmic things that happened when we were starting this country you know, and most of it is going to be unconscious and subconscious programs. So a lot of times those come out not in more of a mental way, even though the way that they can form is through fear. And I think that a lot of us have been being hit in our fear spot, whether it's money, whether it's like you're losing a relationship, whether you're letting go of a career that was 17 years old, let, you know, whether it's fear of getting sick and health, wherever you are the most fearful is the thing that's kind of getting you this, this is your sticky point. This is where you stop yourself. And the fear is the very thing that keeps us from not moving forward. And what I've noticed this year is that fear has been really real. And I was listening to Matthias De Stefano. He's a guy on Gaia TV, and he was talking about crisis. And I always like to say, a true soul is revealed in a moment of crisis. And then he kind of extrapolated on that kind of idea that we have to go through a crisis sometimes in a collective way, like World War II or COVID. And what that's really putting us all into. And so we're in this world crisis together, and that is creating an opportunity for us to have a massive growth curve in a very small amount of time. And even though it's really fargin uncomfortable, and why we're all uncomfortable, discomfort is the edge of is your edge point. And when you're on your edge point, that's where the growth happens very, very quickly. So just so you know, this last 2 years, we have probably grown 7 lifetimes worth of growth. I mean, depending on how much you're doing your
Yeah.
how much you're doing your inner work. I know that I feel like I've had to my mom actually moved in with us last year. So dealing with the lineage karma, seeing my mom's money fears and issues, she actually retired this year, watching her just stress out. I'm like, okay, now I know why I feel safety issues. I know why I have that. So I want you to notice what those fear patterns are and how you, in particular, are dealing with those fear patterns. Are you showing up to them? Are you allowing them to take you out and like let you hide? Or are you going, okay, these are thoughts. The fears are thoughts. And because I've had to deal with this so deeply, I've been listening. I've been doing a lot of work on this. And one night I was like really having a hard time. And Ryan put on some music, and it was like random, not normal music that we usually put on. And he put on Bob Marley. And Bob Marley said this in one of his lyrics: worry is prayers to the devil. And it hit me. And I was like, oh, what am I praying for? I'm praying through worry. What am I doing to myself? And that really struck a chord in me. And so I started to go, okay, every time I worry, I have to shift this and I have to go towards the line of gratitude. Worry does nothing. Prayer and gratitude will put us back into alignment of putting it back into perspective of what we really have. And I think what we're trying to get is through that conditioning, through these lineage, fears, karmas, things that we've really had to deal with so deeply in this lifetime and others, and go back to this state of innocence, of knowing that in an, a universe that's so abundant that we're in a space rock spinning around in space around a big ball of gas in the middle of our, there's all these weird things happening that are allowing us to have this experience that if we go back to our innocent heart and we go back to these fundamental simplicities like gratitude, like prayer, like knowing that this too shall pass and that you're going through this for a reason and for a purpose, and it's not going to last as long as you think it is. It's it's a pressure cooker, and you will come out of this pretty darn soon. And I know that it's hard. And I did see someone, they said, how about if I'm at a crossroad? And I love that. I'm glad you brought up the crossroad stuff, because I think we're all at a crossroad. And because we're on a lot of this Gemini energy and coming back to the full moon in Gemini, is I think this is kind of the choice. Are you going to keep worshiping the worry, or are we going to keep worshiping the new and worshiping how you can show up not just externally different, but like really internally different? Where what master are you serving? Are we serving the worry, or are we serving the, not like the potentialities and the starry-eyed thing of naivety? It's not this. It's the depth of who you were meant to become. Because I think this is what, there's a lot of people on this planet right now, and there's something very big going on. We all kind of feel it. I think we did come with a mission and a purpose. And there are things that we've been talking about. There's been collective dreaming that we want to build more communities. We have Pluto going into Aquarius, guys, for 20 years almost next year. We have the blueprints. So it's not about what we're about to create. It's about who you need to be to create that, and not worry about what everybody's doing or what everybody should be doing. Let them do that thing.
100%.
What are you going to do is more of like, what life do you want to build? I think is what this Gemini full moon is going. What do you want to do?
God, there's so many layers to this. It goes so beyond this Gemini full moon too, with everything that you're saying. Just, you know, for until late summer 2023, we're gonna be still working on that worry vibe. With
Late
uh
summer.
the with the South Node moving through Scorpio. As long as the South Node's in Scorpio, we have to face those fears. We have to look at those places. And one of the other things, speaking of Aquarius energy, because we have Saturn finishing up in Aquarius, and then Pluto just was like, I'm going to hop on in and take over that Saturn process. Um, Recognizing things on that higher physics level. One of my favorite quotes, and this, I'm going to get it totally wrong, but nothing in the universe is unaffected by how you look at it. This speaks of Gemini, our mental energy, and it speaks of the Aquarius, the vibrational. We are all affected by like the worries. So if you're like, I'm just worried that the world is going to explode, like, I'm not saying you're creating that, right? But like, we are literally bringing cause and effect by how we are approaching our world, our earth. And so we have so much potential that we can feed into, instead of, I love that, worshiping the worry, praying our fears, right? And so that's part of this process with the South Node in Scorpio, feeding out, facing these fears, looking at these energies so we can play them out, and leaning into Taurus, which is, I think, in part trusting in the earth, trusting in abundance, leaning into the abundance that literally does exist. Everything that we need is actually provided for here on this planet. And I like to say that anything that is lack is actually manipulated from outside. It's not actually real. There's no reason for any of us to have lack on this bountiful, abundant planet. And so when we start looking at that, we can give our power away to those fears, away to those who are liking to manipulate, or we can take that back. And again, there's that mental process in it that this full moon in Gemini is addressing in us, to help shift these patterns. Another thing that I wanted to just call forth is, for the next, let's see, how many days? Like 2 weeks about, we have Jupiter finishing up in Pisces at that 29th degree. And what I say about that 29th degree, it's like the final degree of the zodiac. And it like basically encapsulates the entirety of the zodiac. I say at this degree, anything goes. And so karmically now, and over these next basically 2 weeks, we are, as well as, with this full moon and everything else, unwinding a lot of deep, many lifetimes, dimensions, karmic energies. So it's such a powerful time when you look at this astro in a whole. Like, every time I look at it, I'm like, what are you doing? Wow. um so uh so there's so much I want to address this, because Trisha just said in the comments, I crashed my vehicle this morning on my way to work. This past week has been horrible for me. How can I change this? So my partner, Joe, some of you are familiar with him. He got into a very bad car accident this summer. He flipped his brand new vehicle. Literally was driving home. He had it like 2 days. um, he said hi. So you're not alone in that. I personally do feel like when we have these moments where something big happens like that, that's a big thing. That it is a call to change. And I know you're asking, how do I change this? It's a big question. How do you change this? You start looking at, to me, is you start looking at where are you feeling out of personal alignment in your mind, in your actions? You are on your way to work. Do you like your work? Are you happy that you're going to work? Start looking at those little pieces. I want to actually I'm gonna actually pull a card because that just speaks.
I pulled a couple
Oh,
too.
energy, go ahead. What did you pull?
So what I would say, so I actually pulled the
Ooh.
9 of Wands and the Ace of Cups. And so this is what I would say. Instead of how do I change it? Like how do I change that all these bad things are happening? I would say more listen. There's
Mm,
something around it almost the 9 of Wands kind of shows standing guard or defensiveness. So what I would ask you of what do you feel like you're resisting? What do you feel like you're needing to defend? Because it feels like this accident is coming as a wake up call to open up the heart and heal something, maybe or a forgiveness that you need to have, or soften around something. Let me get one more from this one because these always give me some interesting. It's Goddess of Earth. Okay. So something around, it might be something around your work, like Mimi said, because you are headed to work. And it is Earth. It's very about, or maybe around money, the way you're working around money. Maybe you've been kind of like, no, I can't leave this because of this, or maybe you've been defensive at the job, but there's something about really changing this from your heart, right? So whatever needs to be shifted, it's it's an awakening of your heart. What do
I
you
actually have the healing card, and you see this. Trying to get the
there you
camera.
are.
But see that heart lighting up right there?
Heart chakra.
Queen of Cups, or the King of Cups, sorry. So there's definitely some emotional energy around that. And when I pulled cards for you, I actually pulled the Master card and like the card I consider the second Master card. These are two masters. This is a master process that's happening for you. The next card I pulled is the transformation. So it's regardless of how big the crash was, it doesn't matter if like your mirror is falling off or it was like a big crash like Joe. This is meant to help you shift. And I liked what Nikki said. Like it's not like necessarily how do I change, but it's listening for that change. That felt like a ding. The Like Nikki said about something else earlier. The blueprint is there. What you need to do is actually inside of you because none of these cards are like here, let me give you the instructions. Sometimes that'll happen. When we're meant to give you the instructions, the cards will be like, first you do this, and then you do that, and blah, blah, blah. But this to me is like, here's what you need to know. You're not at fault. This is part of a larger master process, bringing you back to that authentic. This is hard for me to get this on camera. That authentic, innocent, true self. This is the Sun card. It's a card of like you bursting into your big shiny self, right? But to get there, it is that heart healing and it is this larger process of transformation. And the final card that final two cards that I want to show you is one of them's the dream. What did you want to be when you were growing up? What do you want to be doing with your life? Are you putting that into something that is serving your values? That's how I've been ending every video these days is honor your values. Are you putting that into your values, into how you want to be spending your short amount of time on this planet? Or is it something where you're serving something else that's not a value to you? And really listening to that. And the final card that I have is the patience process with this. It's not going to unfold overnight for you. But I love what Nikki said. If you start addressing your heart, listening to your heart to help you in this, you are going to hear how you are meant to move forward.
And discern what you need to let go. And that's like the last piece. What you need to walk away from. What needs to be kind of just sunk or burned away, and just walk away from things. And honestly, the work that I've been doing, the work that we've been doing this last year, I really want to reiterate that. What do you need to walk away from? What is not serving you? And I know letting go of things is a it's a grieving process, and it's hard. And it's hard to have that. I got a huge these I love these like healing cards, and this I got for the collective. There's a lot we have to surrender to find that self mastery. And that's what Mimi said with the MasterCard, because we have to build these healing tools of strength. And another, I always see the strength and the courage energy very similar, right?
Mhm.
What do we need to have courage to do? And to be honest with you, and I hate to sound dramatic, it's like we don't really have time anymore. We're here. That thing we've been talking about, like this big shift, and it's been a global process. And I know me and Mimi, and we've known each other for over a decade now. And I remember when I first met Mimi, we were in Soul Garden, and I know all the astrologers. Oh, all this da da da, like this big thing's gonna happen. We're here. We are here. There is no turning back. There is no going back to the way things were. We as a collective grid, that grid is broken. It's shattered, and a new one's coming up. And we have to grow with that. We have to go with that. We have to grow with that. And the time is now to let go of what you don't want. The energies of the planets are supporting you. It's not going to leave you on your butt. You're not just like taking a leap of faith. It's not even a leap of faith. It's like if you don't, weird things happen like car accidents to pull you out. And
Yes.
and
Help you
it
shift.
you got to listen to that. Like the day that Ryan quit his job so we could do this work full time, the hour he did was the hour that a fire was set in our neighborhood, took out 1,000 houses, like literally took out our monetary resources, and took us out for 2 months. We were displaced, then we all got sick, and we got COVID for like a month and a half. And I will have to say, you have to trust those limitations. You have to trust that for a second, because it's asking you to really change some old habits, because you are being asked. It's like an invitation. It's like, you ready to join the party? Like, are you ready to do this? Because it's an evolution of the soul, it's an evolution of the collective soul. And it's beautiful. But again, yes, you have to go through the grief. Yes, you have to go through the change. But that's the process of becoming that we're all craving, that we all actually really want.
As you said that, I know this can be cliche, but it's such a good reminder. A lot of people say that the process of like butterfly, a butterfly birthing itself is not necessarily easy. But if you help the butterfly, it never actually gets the strength it needs to survive. And so it's important that we go through these birthing processes, these challenges, because this is what brings us the strength that we need to move into that next level. And so keep that in mind. You're like, what are you doing to me, universe? What are you doing for me, universe? How are you calling me into my personal strength right now? Because that's going to be really important as we are moving forward. And that brings me to something else, the strength of mind as well as we're moving forward. Because I think that's something to be very aware of. With Saturn in Aquarius, I definitely saw some of it. The beauty of Aquarius, there's two levels. One is like, yes, we need to come together as a community. And yet Aquarius is also this call to like individuality and the rebel. And so strengthening our mind with this full moon in Gemini, making sure that we are not just chameleoning into what others think is good or right or what you should be doing, but really being able to have your own mind, listen to your intuition, your inner voice to help guide you forward. Because with Pluto moving into Aquarius, that group speak is going to get even stronger. And I believe Pluto's highest gift to us is the gift of empowerment. And so we need to empower our personal individual sense of, I don't know what the right word is right there, but our individual sense to help guide us forward as well in and through this. And so keep that in mind with this Gemini mind.
When you were trying to get the word, a card literally slipped out. It's to empower your heart.
There it is again.
You have to empower your heart.
Mm.
The where we're going, your heart needs to be fully, so it's moving not just from the rational mind. It's moving into the intuitive mind. And there's a difference here because the rational mind is the one that kicks up the worry. The rational mind goes, well, if I quit my job, obviously I wouldn't have money. That's 1 + 1 = 2, right? But as we know, things don't necessarily work that way. Sometimes we have to let something go to create a void. So something could go and come in that we normally wouldn't be able to have if we hold on to the old way. And that is when we have to trust that intuitive mind. Like Mimi said, you can't get all caught up in all the fear mongering and all the things that, all the minutia and all, like, you can get caught. There's something that has been kind of courting me to try to like hook me in this mental thing and like have an argument about. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to argue. I don't care. Because I know if I argue with you guys, it's not going to do anything for me. It's going to take me off my course. It's going to give my energy to something that I don't really need to deal with. We get to be impeccable with where we want to put our resources. This is not even just physical monetary resources. Your resources is your energy. It is your mental energy. It is what you're focusing on. And if you're focusing on this minutia and the mental stuff, you're going to just get more distortion. But if you focus on empowering the heart, empowering what you love, yes, the harmony, it's going to bring your life into harmony and empowering things that you love. And I think when these things do court us and want to hook us to like distract us, or we want to scroll for an hour, or whatever those distractive behaviors are, ask yourself every day, almost to nauseam, to say, is this empowering my heart? Is this something I want to give my energy towards? Is this something that feeds me too?
I
And
love the phrase pay attention because you are literally paying your attention. Like
yeah,
attention is like monetary. You are literally paying attention to what you give your energy to. So is this something I want to pay into? Like is this worthy of my valuable energy? And that is potent to tune into and connect into.
I also want to go back to this idea of the intuitive mind.
Mm.
The intuitive mind is really hard to trust sometimes because sometimes it asks you to do something that is totally illogical, scary, if you will, and it might throw you into a little bit of a chaotic change at first. But if we keep listening to that intuitive mind, I think what happens is it breaks us out of the blocks of the past. Because I think that's what's really happening. I think there's a lot of blocks, like Mimi was talking in the beginning of the call, that we have all these ruts. And when you start listening to the intuitive mind, it is going to shift you out of those ruts very quickly. But it's disorienting. I know this. I'm going through it. Um, but it's also going to be the thing that breaks the chains and guides your way forward. And you have to continue to listen to it, even though you might not be getting the very thing that you want at the moment. Give it a moment, give it time to process because it is moving you forward faster than you think. And I love that you brought that in, Mimi. This, don't listen to all the, you have like the Aquarius energy is telling you, oh, my ear is ringing, is really telling you to listen to yourself because only you know how to get there. And by the way, you can't look at all these other people on the internet and how they're doing it because you don't see the behind the scenes process. You might see them having all of this stuff and they're having success, but you're not seeing what's going on behind the scenes and you don't see how they built that. You need to listen to yourself. There is no one-way formula to get you to your own breakthrough. Listen to your own way.
One of the things, speaking of not knowing what's on behind the scenes, um, so in my patron group today, I do a patron group for the full and the new moons. Somebody else pulled the breakthrough card, and one of the things that came through so clearly, just to say it in a different way, breakdown is a soulmate of breakthrough. And so anybody that you see going through breakthroughs of any kind, do recognize that there is always that breakdown process. And so when we're seeing the highlight reel, on social media, you can compare yourself and be like, I'm not doing it right. I'm messing up. And I know that there's a lot of spiritual teachers out there who are like, if things are happening that are bad, that's your fault. I'm not saying responsibility, because we all take personal responsibility, but this is your fault. You're doing it wrong, blah, blah, blah. And no, breakdown and breakthrough go hand in hand together. They are divine partners. And so keep that in mind as you are moving forward in this, and don't get discouraged when you hit that breakdown, because know that there is breakthrough that will come right alongside with it.
And I also want to say something about that, because the right and the wrong thing, and if you're listening to spiritual teachers that telling you that you're wrong and they have no idea like who you are, like, be careful of that, first of all. Second of all, what is right and wrong? Right? Like, you're going through something hard. Is that wrong? No, you're not doing anything wrong. You're in the middle of a process, right? Like, did I do something? Did Ryan and I do something wrong when he quit his job and all of a sudden the whole neighborhood's going to hell in a handbasket? No, we didn't do anything wrong. What we did is we are in a transformational process. And so it's something to like really soften your mind around. Here's that mind again, right? So when I have a client that goes, am I doing it right? What am I doing wrong? I'm not getting this. It's wrong, 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 right, wrong, right, right, wrong. I go, give me the words, hand them to me. Right in this hand, but wrong on this hand, right? And I'm going to throw them away. And I'm going to give you a new phrasing. Does this serve me in this moment? Or does this not serve me in this moment? Because the thing that might be wrong, that you're like, you're doing it wrong. No. Is it serving me? Or how is this serving me? And you can soften your mind around that right, wrong, dualistic pattern. You give yourself more self-compassion to make the mistakes that you need to learn through, to make more aligned decisions. But it's not a wrong decision. It's learning from what works and what doesn't. And we have to have curiosity and the ability to soften around this word mistake, because it's a learning process. Your whole life's a learning process. So keep learning. That's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're not here to be perfect. We are here to learn, evolve, shift. And I think we just all need to keep that in mind with this, because again, there's so much judgment in all of this. And all of this brings it back to like, what are your mental processes? What are these mental words that you are feeding yourself? And here is again where you can create so much shift in your life for, taking off in this little rocket ship. I just pulled two cards. Nikki had pulled the clinging to the past, and I pulled the clinging to the past, the exhaustion card. And the exhaustion card, a few of the cards I can look at as like baggage. So it's like noticing, what baggage do you need to put down that you have been carrying for so long? I'm not going to get this camera thing right.
No, I'm having a hard time too. I'm pointing to you, and then I'm pointing the wrong direction.
It has us flipped, so it's confusing. But yeah, what do you need to put down? Because it's too heavy in this energy. And being aware of that mentally, these processes, and again, what you're paying your attention to will help serve you in these shifts that we're all making together.
Yeah, I have very similar. I have that condition card. So it's that deep conditioning, that clinging to the past. And then again, like with the exhaustion, the things that are stressing you out. And then the lack of vulnerability or fighting what is. And I think this is really important. Ryan and I, like I said, we had a hard year. And Ryan kept looking at me and kept saying, you can keep fighting what is, or you can learn acceptance. And I'm like, oh God, you have to accept where we're at, Nick. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And that's hard. It's difficult to accept all of it
But
when
how
you're in it.
when you accept it, like you accept it and you like sink into it and it's like, okay, just this. And then boom, the next second, there's shift. Because so much of what keeps us out of that shift is the energy that we put into the resistance of the acceptance.
And that exhausts you.
It's
Like
exhausting.
that's exhausting. I've had to do this process. Like, you know, that you all know it. I know you know it. When you're like in the middle of the night and you wake up and you're like, thank you, brain, for just keeping me up with this worry nonsense that I can't do anything about. And I started to realize, all right, I'm going to sit here and either like allow myself to hook into this and just spiral, continue to spiral and exhaust myself, let it hook into me and just spin me out. That's one way to deal with it. So then I said, you know what? Fine. If I'm going to be up anyway, I'm going to sit up. And I would sit up and I would go into meditation and I would just go, okay, fear. And I would put it in like a bubble and I would stare at it. I'm like, okay, I'm, and it's a Buddhist saying too, okay, Mara, let's play, right? So Mara is kind of the energy of like the set or the Satan or whatever, the dark entity, if you will. And there's a ritual. So if you guys have ever watched it, I know it's so much fun. That movie's great. But if you watch that movie, but if you read the book, Stephen King's It, they do something called the ritual of chud, Chud. And chud is this entity. It's kind of Mara, if you will, and it's this like really gnarly thing, and it is based off of chud, and it takes form or shape in the fear that you have. And we talked a lot about this already. And what the ritual of chud is, it's a really weird ritual. I forget what like culture that this is from. Ryan knows all this. But what you have to do with chud is you bite each other's tongues. I know it's weird, right? And so this chud energy, you have to sit with it and look at it. And if you can laugh or make chud laugh, then it doesn't devour your soul. Isn't that interesting? And this is what I kind of envisioned. Not exactly like biting the tongue, but I kind of just looked at it. And instead of hooking into it, I looked at it and I stayed present and I witnessed it. My whole body would cover a massive amount of sweat and I would process this energy. Because you have a choice. You can listen and take that fear seriously, and it has complete control and power over your psyche, your mind, your body, and your spirit. Or you can look at it right dead in the face and just stare until you see the cosmic joke. And it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of like, okay, I got to sit still. But just that action can be the breakthrough that you're looking for, because you're changing your relationship to the fear itself. Because it can shapeshift. That's what fear is. That's what chud is. That's what it is a shapeshifter. Because as soon as you deal with that one fear that maybe worry goes away, guess what? Oh, I'm going to shift into something else. Did you deal with this one yet? But you can deal with fear for fear itself. And if you have a different relationship to that fear or worry, you're in way better shape than you could imagine. Mm-hmm.
Agreed. That's so powerful. And I think that's a good time to segue into just talking a little bit about our Friday lives that are going to be happening for the next several weeks. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So we decided that we're going to do basically for the next 7 weeks on every Friday, me, Mimi, and my husband Ryan is going to make an appearance. And maybe even do one just you and Mimi. I think you and Ryan would be kind of fun to have a conversation. Ryan, my husband, brings a very interesting. He brings in interesting metaphors. Sometimes I'm like, where are we going with this? And then all of a sudden I'm like, ah, this is where we're going. Go. But he brings a really fun masculine perspective, and a very grounded, Mr. Taurus, masculine perspective, practical, and very, very, I don't know, very insightful. I love the way he speaks. So what we're doing, because we know that 2023 is going to bring massive change, we are going to help you for the next 7 weeks through the holidays, through the shift of the new year into January, of really dealing with how to change in an empowered way, and how to change internally and have a new relationship to yourself and these different aspects of your life, so that you can transform, so you can start handling those external changes that you either A, need to make, or that are already coming to you.
Beautiful. Yeah, so it'll be exciting to see how that unwinds. We'll be doing the same kind of format. It'll be posted on Facebook and YouTube because, hey, technology, we figured out a different technology since the Facebook Live wasn't working. And I do believe that these are recorded and saved. So we will be appearing appearing on your screen at, let's see, it's noon Central Time, 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, 11 Mountain Time, every Friday for the next 7 weeks, starting ding,
Ba-da-doo.
starting this Friday. So I hope that if you enjoyed tonight, that you can join us. I'm not ready to be done yet, but it just felt like such a perfect segue for that I wanted to dig into that. Really.
I I think it's going to be really helpful for the holiday season that you guys are going to have us, and we have some offerings that we have, and that me and Ryan are doing, and Mimi's a part of it too, and was a part of it with us this last time, and to help you with that change. And we'll go into that on Fridays, because we have some powerful tools that will support you, because we know that the main thing of this is feeling isolated is no bueno. Doing this, you think you're crazy. You're like, am I going crazy? Trust me, I know. Having like having someone just say, yeah, that's a thing. Yeah,
You're not
that's a
alone.
thing,
Yeah.
is it's amazing, right? And so it's medicine within itself. So join us on these Fridays, get that support that you need. In 2023, we have some things that will really support you. If you want that deep internal support or change support, we have it. We have it. I have it. We've found something that really works. And so if you're interested, join us, because this is about creating a beautiful tribe that kind of just gets it.
Beautiful. Somebody asked the time. I don't know if you asked this before or after I said the time, but Friday it'll be noon Central. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. It's 10 Pacific, 11 Mountain Time. Did I say p.m.? 11 a.m. 11 a.m. 10 a.m. 11 a.m. Pacific Mountain Time. Noon Central. 1 p.m. Eastern. Memphis time, I think, is Central Time, so that would be noon for Memphis time.
That'd be
So
on your time.
these things will be recorded and left up on, if all goes well technology wise, learning this skill here. But if all goes well technology wise, I think it'll be up on both uh, YouTube and Facebook. So, and please, with all of this, like, feel free to share this, because I think the more people that we can, align with it, when we can shift together. I had a vision. I don't remember what Nikki was saying. You were saying something, but I had a vision. You know where you see I don't know what kind of birds they are. They starlings, where it's just that crowd of birds, and you see them go this way and then this way, and they're like just this one beautiful unit. That's what I feel like we can do as we make our individual shifts. But it's like pulling those who are ready to engage in this, pulling them in to support that vision as well.
And supporting each other's process in the best way we can. What I see when we have a group doing things together is like when you're having a really good day and you're there, somebody else is like falling apart, and it's like it almost feels like we do this beautiful fluid dance. Ryan and I changed a lot of our the way that I do my workshops now. I always say like the group is the guru. And there is something very true about that. We all bring our medicines together. And I think where we have to go is we have to honor our individual talent and gift and knowledge and experience at the same time being part of that. I love that analogy, meme, of the birds that they're all individuals, but they're like this fluid dance motion. And what we've seen is when you trust the group, magic. It's magic. It's like I don't know that, and somebody's like, I do. I don't have that resource. I do. And
Right.
everybody has what everybody needs. And you start really realizing there is no lack, that somebody has the thing you need. You
Yeah.
got to ask or you got to say something. But
Yeah.
we all gravitate to each other for a specific reason.
So somebody just said something. I just want to address this. They said the moon, she's sucking the life out of me, and I don't know why. I feel like if you are feeling like your life is being sucked right now, that you need to rest and you need to listen internally, because I guarantee it's not the moon sucking the life out of you, but astrologically, chances are you're getting have some challenging things going on. And so a lot of times when you're feeling that life being sucked out of you, you need to tend to you. And I think one of the best things you can do is go into that place of rest, slowing down. Yes. So that you can be present for whatever the universe is trying to impart to you at this time, for sure.
I got a ding, ding, ding on that as well. Yeah, the rest.
Yeah.
Um, I have only one more thing before I leave. Before we leave, what do you have,
Well,
girly girl?
I posted on my Instagram. I got these new cards that are the most amazing thing. I bought these for my birthday. It was my birthday, like God, 2 weeks ago now. The Sacred Revolution Oracle, and I posted a card that I pulled for tonight. Look at this box.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, I want those.
I know these are like this is the book. Enter the
Okay.
mystery, and this is the card. Ooh, this is the card that I pulled, and I posted on Instagram for some interest. Look at this card. Look at these
I
dimensions and
I
light.
could just look at those cards forever. I want these. Okay, on my Christmas list.
I
Oh,
love these cards. So I'm just going to read just a few parts of this because I love the language, but I think it's just helpful right now in this place of shift that we're all in. So I'm going to read the divinatory meaning. There's a lot here, but I'm just going to read the divinatory meaning for this. So align and connect to raise your consciousness and vibration. Call in your teams, call in your ascended masters, archangels, dragons. Yes, your dragons, divine messengers for support from the multi dimensions. Step into your galactic sovereignty. We kind of talked about that earlier. As service to all. Answer the call to your next level of expansion. Enter unafraid into the dark night of the soul, knowing it's a jewel of your becoming. How perfect is this? I pulled this afternoon, and somehow in all of the like everywhere that we went, here it is in this card.
we always go everywhere. That's me and you.
It is me. We're both Gemini risings, and then her Virgo and my Sagittarius, and we just like I love the I can't find the word, but I love the alchemy of our magic together. So I'm going to read this. How we show up in the greater dance of cosmic creation is essential medicine. All energy moves in spirals and swirls around us, creating portals for us to move through into new levels of our expansion and remembrance. This allows us to travel from one realm to the other, to time hop, and to connect. This card is inviting you to receive direct divine transmissions of the evolutionary mutation we are undergoing. Open yourself to be transfigured and transformed by potent multidimensional light codes, holy vibrational patterns, and cosmic resonant frequencies. A galactic DNA activation is pouring through your crown chakra and streaming in galactic light frequencies now, just from gazing at this card image. We are now in a time of rapid expansion and ascension of consciousness. Now is the time to become finely tuned into the light vibration. Become a galactic weed whacker in all spaces you enter, clearing and raising the energetic frequency. Be unafraid to step into the dark and the unknown. Know that without the dark, we aren't able to know the true magnitude of the light. Connect in with your ascended masters, archangels, dragons, divine messengers for support on your journey of expansion. They are waiting from the other dimensions to assist you and raise your frequency and vibration. Your galactic sovereignty awaits you on the other side of this portal. How can you walk through without hesitation now? So, loving these cards. And there's a big call to shift right now. And here we are for it. So I will let Nicole finish us up and take us out with what you have remaining.
Well, I'm going to give you the Virgo practical, some
Okay,
practical reading
good.
advice. Um, so what I want you guys to really focus on is so I have this Page of Swords, and we have a bit of a gap that we have to cross, right? When we're trying to make change in our life, we are at a starting point, but we gotta get over this crevice. It always kind of reminds me of Indiana Jones. I think is it Temple. I don't remember which one it is, where he can't see the bridge, but it's an illusion, and he has to take that step, and there is, that's the same thing I have here. And you are going to have to kind of walk across, it's a leap of faith, but there is something solid. It's not just like a leap of faith and you're like free falling. You might not be able to see the next step, but if you toss sand, the next step literally is there. But what they're saying to bring on that is rely on your knowledge and experience a little bit more, right? There's some talents and gifts that you have from your past, some old ideas, some ideas maybe that have been kind of continuously kind of floating around you. This almost feels like balloons that are like holding you up, right? Keep your ideas up, use the knowledge and resources you have internally, and it's going to get you over that crevice. Then get to work. There's something that you are meant to bring in. Do not let that song not be written. Don't let the song be unwritten when you die. Don't let the book be unwritten when you die. Bless you.
Thank you.
Don't let the business not be produced. Whatever that thing is, that idea. And it's not just a whim dream thing. It's like they're showing me what you want to create. You actually have experience or some knowledge in it. Like you want to write a book, write your memoir, do the thing, right? I'm really getting this, like, get to work.
Chop wood, carry water, whatever that means for you. Whatever that work is for you. Like
Even if it's an hour a day. I mean, I built a whole thing just by doing 10 minutes, a live video for 10 minutes every day. Like, just do something every day, write for an hour. And look, I've written a couple of things at this point. In about 90 minutes, your brain's like, blah. So you don't even have to do any more than that anyway. But put it in your routine. Make it physical because there's the world here, right? You're it's going to happen. It's going to manifest. You're going to complete it, but you have to just get to work. Then there's another layer to this. Lots of big ideas, lots of dreaming. So don't be the armchair astronaut. Get to work. There's a lot of dreaming here. Okay. And I think we're getting a little bit caught in the mind and like maybe looking too far ahead, where I think you need to look a little bit more, again, heart, Queen of Cups instead of the Queen of Swords, instead of the thoughts. You need to really start focusing on, look at this. It's like she's wielding instead of thinking about it, right? She's really bringing this in. And then there is the Judgment card. The Judgment card is almost like a rebirth, okay? And I always see this like shedding a skin or freeing an aspect of herself that maybe she's been holding back. And I'm like, okay, what needs to be rebirthed? Lack mentality, my friends, right? We're like, I can't do that because I don't have the resources. I can't do that. I've never had like the littlest amount of resources that I've had in this year, and I've gotten more done in this year than I think I've ever had done, right? Because when you really do have the energy or that like pressure cooker of lack, it's like it's do or die now. I have no excuses. I can't procrastinate. I have to get it done, right? Live like that. Live as though, I mean, J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter on welfare with a baby at her breast. Like it's amazing what the limitations can really focus you into doing. And it really will pull you forward, the things that need to be pulled forward, even if you're like grieving, even if you're a little bit sad that you have to let some things go. It's okay. The things that are supposed to, where you're supposed to go, you'll be pulled to that path if you show up to it. And yes, there might be some grief energy. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. You know, when we have to let things go, you're going to have to like grieve an old way and grieve an old self and grieve some friends and grieve, you know, whatever that might be. But I think let's get a last completion card here.
Oh,
I got it. This
oh,
is the 10 of Pentacles. It's abundant. You're abundant. You're actually more abundant than you think. Oh, yay. I got the money. You got the love. Yeah, I'll take it.
but here's the heart piece that you keep reminding. You can't lose this. Like even when we lose relationships and it's painful, you don't lose heart, right? Like that heart, that love of whatever it is remains, and you can always tap that as such a beautiful resource in and through this, and that will help pull you through, like Nikki was saying.
And I love that you have the lovers in relationship, and I have the deep love of family and children. And in the Greek terminology, it's called storge, and that means like familial love, like really deep love, unconditional love, like the way a mother loves a child. And what I'm getting at is you're going to learn this really deep unconditional love, and you're going to realize how truly abundant you've always been through all of this, even the fears. You've been abundant in some way. And that's the depth of the heart. And we've gotten a lot of that. And it's really, what master do you want to serve? Do we want to serve the cosmos? Do we want to serve this? Or do we want to serve the essence? I think the only thing that we really need to serve is love, period, on all of its aspects. Serve love, and it will
Yes,
always set you up for who you want to be.
agreed. One of the things I say, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I always say at the end of my horoscopes, there's more than enough love in the world for you. And that speaks to relationships, it speaks to food, it speaks to money, it speaks to all of that. And if we can encapsulate that energy of the abundance of all of those layers of love on this planet, then we can face fear with full courage and face whatever else comes along with the fears with full courage.
And I want you to know this, and this is something I know on a personal level. When you're getting close, the resistance gets fiercer.
Yes.
It does. And it can come into forms that you're like, really? Ask, okay. But that is meaning that you are close. And it's not there to punish you. It's there as a threshold guardian for you to cross. It's that sometimes it feels like it's the darkest before dawn. But I'm telling you, and this is not some just airy fairy, like everything's going to be okay. It's going to be okay is because you are strong enough to handle it. You're strong enough. You're on this planet now at a really big shift moment for a reason.
I personally believe we all signed up to be here, no matter what you're like. You're like, WTF? We all signed up to be here in this, and we all have the capability and the strength to show up in this and create.
Can my next incarnation be a vacation planet with?
My landlord, when we moved here early on, she was like, "Some people have vacation lifetimes," and I was like, "That's not me." She's like, "No, that's not you. That's not me either." I don't think this is a vacation time on this planet for most of us. Maybe a few are like, "Hey, we're here in the Bahamas and it's great," but
I want some my time. No, I want massages every day.
putting in the
Yeah,
positive.
we'll just do one lifetime. I'll get back to work, I promise. I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and I want to thank you, Mimi. It's been so much fun to be able to do this together, like old times, and then do this every Friday. It'll probably be right. It'll bring the masculine and maybe some structure. I don't know where we'll go, but
We'll
uh,
see.
who knows? Because he gets some random stuff too. But we are talking about these really beautiful, potent changes for 2023. So if you need some support in the changes that you're going through, come and hang out with Mimi and I. And Ryan. We're
Yeah,
the
you're
three best friends. And
this will be a lot of fun. Thank you, friends, so much for joining and all of the comments. I'm sorry we can't pull cards for all of you, but I think that we are all getting what we need. And if you listen, like we told somebody else, when you listen, you'll find what you needed in and through this broadcast. So, and who knows what will happen on our Friday sessions. So we look
we
forward.
might like pick three people and pull some individuals. But what I want to say is I think the reason why Mimi and I go like this way and that way and this way is because your guys' consciousness is pulling on us and go, so and so needs to hear that. So and so needs to hear that. So if you do listen, you might have the guidance in one of our little. I had like 3 or 4 decks going on, so everybody had a reading somewhere in there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Nikki, for showing up tonight. Happy new moon, my friends.
Full moon.
Yeah, full moon. Sorry. Happy full moon in Gemini, and sending you all so much love as we are all starling our shifts together.
We're in the boat. All right, everyone. Thank you guys. We love you.
Bye.